Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the C-Man, and I want to welcome you to another Spooktober edition of the C-Man's Cinema Sit Down. That's right, we're playing catch-up today because this week's been beating me up, and I have fallen seriously behind on one of my favorite weeks of all of Spooktober, and that's diving into some of my favorite classic horror characters. We just talked about, and it's sequel week, that's what it is. We're watching all the number twos in these franchises. We just finished the number two in the Candyman franchise, which, you know what, kind of in and of itself is a bit of a number two. If you want to know what I'm talking about or see all my thoughts, you can check them out right up there. But now we turn our attention to a movie that historically, like when people talk about, is not really praised too often. However, of the sequels that we watched this year, it's one of the ones that I happen to enjoy a bit more than some of the other ones. And I've never really understood all the hate that this movie gets sometimes. What am I talking about? Why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat, we're getting ready to dive in spoiler free into Child's Play 2. And I tell you, man, I know that not all these Child's Play movies are great. Some of these are rough. You know what I mean? Specifically, after this one, Bride of Chucky is a big rebound for me, but, you know, they all, like many of the movies in these franchises, you kind of just start to go off a cliff where it's like, you probably should have ended this sooner, but, like, being fans of the property, we always are willing to go down, you know, those rabbit holes and be on, you know, for the ride. And, like I said, this is one of the ones that I don't understand sometimes all of the hatred that it gets, because for me, you know, it does a lot of the same things that the first one does really well, and I think furthers the story in a way that makes a ton of sense. In Child's Play 2, this is one of those films that pretty much picks up right where we left off. You know, I think it's maybe a couple weeks ahead of that, but Andy's mom has been sent away because she completely backs Andy's story, because she witnessed Chucky come to life and do all the horrors that we saw in the first Child's Play, and the rest of the world is like, you're nuts. So to a hospital she goes, and that sends Andy to a foster home where the family has an older foster daughter. It's, I think, 17. She's almost 18. And Andy and her, you know, start to bond a little bit. You know, that friendship between them. Naturally, Chucky finds his way back. He's resurrected, and he's got eyes for Andy, because without Andy, he can't be resurrected. He's not trying to stay stuck in this doll the whole time. So naturally, you know, Chucky starts coming in, and the parents are thinking that Andy is doing things that are wrong. They think that his new sister, who is played by Christine Elise, Kyle, is responsible for some of the weird stuff going on, and, you know, that's where we go. You know, it kind of ends up being a very similar movie to the first one, but for me, even though the performances in this are not super strong, right, like Alex Vincent, who plays Andy, not the strongest, you know, child actor. However, after watching the first Child's Play, you know what you're getting from Alex Vincent. So coming into the movie, none of that throws me off, and it doesn't even bother me, because I'm just like, yeah, let's find out what happens to Andy after his mom is, like, kind of put away. And again, conceptually here, I like the idea of two, where you have Andy kind of going to a foster home where nobody, again, is going to believe him. So when this doll pops up, he seems nuts, and eventually, you know, he's able to garner, you know, enough of a friendship with Kyle where she starts to believe him, and, you know, you go from there. And I don't know, man, this one just, it works for me. I enjoy the kills. I think Chucky has some really interesting ways to take out people, as well as really interesting ways to kill Chucky. That's one of the things that you gotta love about this franchise, is like, there's always a way that we can kill Chucky, yet he always is going to find a way to come back. And, you know, the resurrection sequence in this one makes a ton of sense, where when we get to, you know, Child's Play 3 next year, the resurrection sequence in that one does not really work for me very much, but this one makes a ton of sense how he comes back. And once again, we have the absolutely wonderful and talented Brad Dourif voicing Chucky, and everything that I think they have for Chucky in the storyline works. You know, like I said, his resurrection plays really well. Him finding his way back to Andy totally works. And the way that, like, you're able to get the doll into the house, clever enough, right? Like, it's all things that line up. And then you just have Dourif having an absolutely phenomenal time. Like, I love anytime this guy voices this character. And, it's just, look, I love Mark Hamill. I think Mark Hamill did something interesting with the latest installment of Child's Play. And by the end of that movie, I was like, that's where I want the character, and now we'll probably never get to see it again. But, I mean, Dorff's a legend, man, and he crushes here. And he has an absolute ball, once again, voicing Chucky. And, like I said, where they put Chucky, the situations they get him into, and the way in which he's able to find ways to kill people. Granted, it's a lot of stabby, but that's about all Chucky can do unless he's finding, things in nature to help him out. But I thought all that stuff worked. And, again, you're able to get the audience to jump a little bit and be scared because of the way that you run him around. And we have John LaFia back, who was on the screenplay in the first one. This time he's directing, and one of the things that I think the movie really does well is capturing the things that make a Child's Play movie and a Chucky movie, right? Like, getting the camera low and finding ways where we can have him, like, run across and all you see are his feet or his shadow, things that you would do with full-size villains. And, LaFia, for the most part, seems like he learned a lot, probably writing and being involved in the first production, that he does a pretty good job behind the camera here. And like I said, capturing the things that make a Child's Play movie work. And acting-wise, outside of Dorff, yes, it's not super strong. I mean, as we said, Alex Vincent, not the strongest kid actor. I think definitely a little bit of a step up from the first one. But again, he's more of like, I'm invested in the character more than I'm invested in the performance. Christine Elise as Kyle, I enjoy her and Vincent on camera together. I think they work well, and where you build to for the insane finale that we get, like, I think that stuff works. But, she's not a scene stealer, and neither are her parents, Joanne and Phil, played by Jenny Agutter and Garrett Graham. And, they're a bit flat, and outside of Dorff, the performances here are not going to be anything that's going to blow you away or save the movie. But like I said, I think the stuff that they build in and around the Chucky and Andy story works really well this time. And for some reason, people don't seem to like Child's Play 2, but of the sequels that we watched this year, the only one I really like more than Child's Play 2 is Halloween 2. Like, this one, I have a ton of fun anytime I go to the world of Chucky. And for me, especially in the Chucky lineage, like, this is definitely the second best in that group. So let's not waste any more time. Let's give Child's Play 2 a score. There we go, man. C-Maniacs are up. And like I said, like, the stuff around Chucky works, man. Like, he... from a horror perspective, I think he's still scary in this movie. I really enjoy the way that you get to see somebody like John LaFia, who was involved in the script, and, obviously some of the production on set, like, learning from that to be able to direct this and recapture the things that make Chucky work from a scary standpoint. And when you get Brad Dourif back, he's fantastic. He has an absolute ball. And while the overall performances outside of that are not stellar, they're good enough for me to be invested in the characters that I should be invested in. And that's Andy, simply from a story perspective, and Kyle, because I kind of like that little bit of a team-up that we get. So for me, when it comes down to Child's Play 2, I've got to go 3.5 out of 5 C-Maniacs. I know some of you are going to be like, C-Man, you're crazy, but Child's Play 2 has always worked for me. And, like, even in rewatching it now, like, I just had the most fun with this more than any of the other movies that I've watched outside of Halloween 2. So, there you go, man. Those are all the C-Man's non-spoiler thoughts on Child's Play 2. One that universally is not super praised very much, but one that I've always dug. So now that you've got all of my thoughts, I want to know what you're thinking. Are you a fan of the Child's Play series? Where does Child's Play 2 fall for you? Does the movie work more for you than it does for the general amount of people that have said bad things about this movie? Or are you in that, general consensus where you're like, yeah, it's not really that great of a movie, C-Man? Anything you got, whether you've seen the movie or not seen the movie. And if you haven't seen the movie, is this something that might interest you? If I pique your interest where it's like, oh man, I haven't seen anybody say anything nice about Child's Play 2, maybe I will check this out. Anything you got, man. Good, bad, indifferent on Child's Play 2. Down below in the comments section. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with C-Man the rest of Spooktober, anytime I'm talking movies, TV, trailer, reactions, you like what I'm doing, you want to show a little love and support, super easy. Just come join C-Maniac Nation by jumping over there. hitting that subscribe button. Hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time for the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. I've been the Seaman. I'm signing off. Peace. Oh, hey, what's going on? You must be sticking around because you're looking for more content featuring this guy. Well, guess what? You're in the right place. You can check out more videos right here and right here. And if you have and you want to come join that Sea Maniac Nation, you can hit that subscribe right over there.